Welcome back, everyone. In this lecture, we're going to focus on conceptual estimating, specifically how estimators use RSMeans and parametric models at the schematic design stage to compare options, set preliminary budgets, and support early decision-making. This is not about producing a bid-ready number. It's about learning how professionals think when information is limited, uncertainty is high, and decisions still need to be made. Remember that in the previous lecture we covered the construction project phases and how estimates evolve across those phases, the classification of costs, and the purpose and limitations of a rough order of magnitude, or ROM estimate. That foundation is important because today's focus on schematic and conceptual estimating builds directly on those ideas. Today we'll cover three main things. 1. RS means cost data and how it fits into conceptual estimating. 2. What parametric cost models are. 3. How parametric models translate limited information into usable insight into likely project costs and help us prepare conceptual estimates. This is something people do intuitively all the time. Homes with wood frames and brick walls here cost about $200 per square foot. For a 2-story, 2,500 square feet economic house, we're looking at $500,000 before adding extras like solar panels or a fridge. That's parametric thinking in everyday language. This table shows how estimates evolve across the life of a project, and it's important to understand that not all estimates are trying to do the same thing. In the previous lecture, we covered the rough order of magnitude estimate, which we use at the planning or feasibility stage. This is based on high-level assumptions and historical data, and it's used to answer a simple question: is this idea even worth pursuing? The highlighted row, schematic design, is where today's lecture lives. At this stage, we prepare a conceptual estimate. The inputs are schematic drawings, program information, and past projects, not detailed construction documents. The purpose here is not pricing for bidding. The purpose is to compare options, test design decisions, and set a preliminary budget. This is why conceptual estimating is so powerful and so dangerous if misunderstood. When done correctly, it supports smart, early decisions. When treated as a precise number, it creates false confidence. We are intentionally working with limited information, using conceptual and parametric methods, and framing costs as ranges, not answers. We learned that at the schematic design stage, the objective is comparison, not precision. We're typically working with conceptual plans, program information, and benchmarks. Design is about 30% complete, and accuracy expectations reflect that, often plus or minus 30%. If someone asks for a precise number at this stage, that's a red flag. Precision without information is dangerous. There's a quote I like that captures the estimator's mindset very well. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. In construction estimating, data is what separates professional judgment from guesswork. Historical costs, benchmarks, and normalized databases give us a starting point grounded in reality. But data alone is never enough, especially at early design stages. Data tells us what typically happens. Judgment tells us how closely this project resembles those past conditions, what's missing, and where uncertainty is highest. A good estimator doesn't just report numbers. They explain how much confidence those numbers deserve. RSMeans exists because one engineer, Robert Snowmeans, believed transparency mattered. Before standardized cost data, contractors guarded pricing closely. Means collected real construction cost data by hand and chose to share it. The idea was simple but powerful. A healthier industry is built on shared benchmarks, not secrecy. That principle still holds today. RSMeans gives everyone a common starting point, a sense of what things generally cost. Early stage pricing is far more transparent than it once was. What hasn't changed is where competitive advantage lives. Contractors still protect actual productivity rates, subcontractor buyout pricing, risk assumptions, overhead structure, margin strategy. Guarding pricing is a defensive strategy against owners, competitors, and even subcontractors. Two contractors can use the same RSMeans data and still arrive at very different bids, and that difference is intentional. Competitive advantage isn't in the benchmark. It's in execution, risk management, and judgment, especially in knowing when to say yes and when to walk away. RSMeans is best understood as a benchmark, not market truth. It's based on normalized national average data. That makes it incredibly useful for early planning, but risky if treated as local pricing. Used correctly, RSMeans supports decision-making. Used blindly, it misleads. RSMeans is most valuable early in the project lifecycle, when benchmarking options, when entering a new market or building type, when time or resources are limited, and in education, like this class. RSMeans can cause problems when its national averages no longer reflect the realities of the project. This often occurs when projects are highly customized, when local labor conditions or union rules differ, or when markets are volatile due to inflation, supply chain disruptions, or labor shortages. RSMeans also becomes less reliable when scope is still evolving or when specialized systems, such as complex MEP, labs, healthcare, or high-tech infrastructure, drive a disproportionate share of the cost. In these situations, professional judgment, local knowledge, and project-specific experience matter more than standardized averages. The most common mistakes at this stage include treating conceptual outputs as final prices, ignoring scope differences, mixing years, markets, or quality levels, and overconfidence in early numbers. Early estimates should always be framed as ranges with assumptions, not promises. Parametric estimating is about identifying key cost drivers, parameters, that correlate strongly with total cost. Instead of detailed takeoffs, we ask, if I know a few big characteristics of this project, can I estimate cost reasonably well? At schematic design, the answer is yes, if the model is used correctly. This slide shows how parametric cost models are built, not how estimates are produced. First, we identify parameters, the measurable variables that consistently explain cost across many projects, such as gross square footage, number of stories, building height, or perimeter. These are chosen because they correlate strongly with total cost, not because they are easy to measure. Next, we collect data from historical projects and standardized cost databases. This data must be normalized to the same scope, quality level, and base year so that differences in cost reflect the parameters, not noise. Then we apply statistical or empirical modeling to establish relationships between parameters and cost. This can range from simple ratios to regression-based models that quantify how cost changes as parameters change. In step 4, we calibrate the parameters, adjusting coefficients, factors, and assumptions so the model reflects typical projects rather than outliers. This is where professional judgment and domain knowledge shape the model. Finally, we validate the model by testing it against known projects. If the model consistently over or underpredicts, we revisit earlier steps and refine the structure. The key point is that parametric models are built iteratively using data, statistics, and judgment together, not created once and blindly applied. A simple way to think about parametric estimating is this equation. Cost equals parameter times rate times adjustments times judgment. The output is typically cost per square foot or total building cost, and it always represents a range, not a bid. Parameter is the primary measurable driver of cost, which correlates strongly with total cost at early design. The main measurable drivers include gross square footage, perimeter, number of stories, story height, etc. Rates are the baseline cost per unit of the parameter, reflecting normalized project data, such as typical systems, typical quality levels, and typical productivity assumptions. Adjustments are modifiers that tailor the base rate to the specific project, such as location, time, and returns from project scale. Adjustments account for known differences from collected data, not unknown risks. Judgment are professional interpretations layered on top of data. These help with scope alignment, identify missing elements, select appropriate contingency ranges. Judgment belongs to the estimator. Parametric models typically include core building construction, major systems at a high level, standard assumptions and geometry. They usually exclude site-specific conditions, owner-driven scope, market volatility, soft and financial costs. Schematic estimates are built on incomplete information, so they must always be presented as ranges, not single numbers. A single number implies certainty that simply does not exist at this stage. The range communicates three things clearly. First, what we know. Second, what we don't yet know. And third, how sensitive the cost is to design decisions like size, height, and system choices. When we present a schematic estimate, we should explicitly state the assumptions, the level of design completeness, and the drivers that could move the number up or down. The goal is not to lock in a price, but to support informed decisions, manage expectations, and avoid false precision early in the project. This slide shows what an RSMeans parametric model actually contains and how to read it at the schematic design stage. Think of this as a structured container of assumptions, not a pricing sheet. First, every model starts with a model number, like M.010. This simply identifies the specific parametric model in the means database. Second, the model is tied to a building type, in this case, a low-rise apartment. Means has more than 50 building types, and choosing the wrong one immediately undermines the estimate. Third, we select the exterior wall and framing system. This choice matters because it drives a large portion of the building cost, even at a conceptual level. Fourth, the model is organized by total square footage and perimeter length. These geometric drivers are what allow means to scale cost without a detailed takeoff. Fifth, this is where we get a base cost per square foot of floor area. This number represents a typical project under typical conditions, not your project yet. Sixth, we apply perimeter and story height adjustments. Taller stories and longer perimeters generally increase cost, and means provide standardized adders to reflect that. Seventh, additional adjustment costs allow us to refine the base model for known differences, but not unknown risks. Eighth, the model separately identifies the cost of abasement, recognizing that below-grade construction behaves differently than above-grade work. Finally, at the bottom, the model reports a cost range. This is critical. Means is explicitly telling you that this output is not a single number, but a range based on historical variation. The key takeaway is this: a means model does not give you the answer. It gives you a defensible starting point built on assumptions, averages, and geometry meant to be adjusted, judged, and communicated as a range at schematic design. This section shows common additives in a means parametric model. The base model assumes a typical level of finishes and equipment. Anything outside that baseline must be added explicitly. These items, appliances, elevators, security, laundry, are shown as unit costs, not square foot costs, because they scale by quantity, not building size. At the schematic stage, we don't add everything. We add only what clearly differs from the model's assumptions. This keeps the estimate transparent and reinforces that schematic costs should be communicated as ranges that shift with scope, not as fixed numbers. This slide shows the standard assumptions built into an RSMeans parametric model. Each model assumes a specific building type, size, story height, systems, and quality level, organized using uniformant 2. These assumptions define what typical means in the model and are already embedded in the base cost. If your project differs from these assumptions, the estimate must be adjusted, and that's why schematic estimates should always be communicated as ranges with stated assumptions, not single numbers. Below the system breakdown, the model moves from building cost to total project cost. Site overhead, main office overhead, and general contractor profit are added as explicit percentages, not hidden inside unit rates. Engineering and architectural fees are also shown separately, reinforcing that these are not construction costs, but project costs. The key takeaway here is transparency. RSMeans is showing you what's included, what's added, and how the total is formed. So when you communicate a schematic estimate, you can explain why the number looks the way it does and why it must still be expressed as a range, not a single value. Means applies contractor fees, typically around 25%, to base costs to explicitly account for general requirements, which is project-specific site overhead, and main office overhead, which refers to company-wide administrative costs. This makes overhead transparent rather than buried in unit prices. This slide summarizes the structured steps for developing a schematic estimate using RSMeans parametric models. We start by defining the building type and scope because selecting the wrong building category or misrepresenting scope will invalidate everything that follows. Next, we select the appropriate parametric model, making sure it aligns with the project's use, height, and construction type. We then apply geometric and system adjustments, things like building size, perimeter, story height, and major system choices that materially affect cost. After that, we add common additives for scope elements that fall outside the model's standard assumptions, keeping those additions explicit and transparent. We then apply location and time factors to adjust national average data to the project's market and year. Finally, and most importantly, we apply professional judgment, accounting for risk, uncertainty, and incomplete information, and we communicate the result as a range, not a single number. The key takeaway from today's lecture is that schematic estimating is not about precision. It's about disciplined reasoning under uncertainty. Parametric models provide structure and benchmarks, but they do not replace judgment. Your value as an estimator lies in how well you understand assumptions, recognize limitations, and communicate cost as a range tied to design decisions. If you can clearly explain why a number looks the way it does and what could move it up or down, you're doing schematic estimating the right way.